Cheers, big ears, and welcome to the Beach Travel Wine Podcast. We are your hosts, Leanne.
And I'm Lyle.
And we are not your usual travel influencers. No, we've decided we want to be travellers that travel under the influence. Okay, good joke?
Reasonable.
Well, there's plenty of more where that come from. So join us as we travel the world, one wine at a time. Hola. Hola everybody, hola Lyle. Welcome back to the Beach Travel Wine International Studio Podcast.
Buenos dias, Leonardo.
Leanne, that's my little new Spanish name. Muchas gracias, mi amor. Today's podcast is all about a gorgeous little authentic Spanish city called Caceres, and we got there, we left Seville on a bus. Didn't take us that long, did it?
About 3 hours.
Yeah, and it was a really nice bus trip because there's all the wineries, and we went over like a bit of a mountain range, so it was sort of different landscape, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it was really, really nice.
Yeah, and how many of those big black bulls did we see?
Oh, it was a lot.
Yeah, it was a few, wasn't it? Yeah,
Mm.
and the other thing we saw were those stork nests on the telegraph poles.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because I'm thinking, why are they putting bales of hay on the top of
Telegraph poles.
telegraph poles? And then Leanne said, oh, that's where the storks make their nests. And I went, oh, I'm a bit of a dickhead. But anyway.
Yeah.
But it was
a great trip. So we saw lots of different stuff on our bus trip. That's why we like the bus, actually, because it, takes you along the roads, and went into a nice little town on, I should remember what it is, but it's sort of one of the little villages along the Camino de Santiago, and it was so pretty, wasn't it? Beautiful. So that's why public transport's always good. You can just sit back and relax and enjoy it. So
yeah, the bus trip only cost $24 each.
Cheap as good.
Cheap as, comfortable, air conditioned.
Yeah, free Wi-Fi, laughing. And so we arrived in Caceres, and is that where I got the taxi? Was that here?
No, that was here.
Okay, no, that's another story for another podcast. We got to our accommodation, which is in the heart of the old town, and this time we were treating ourselves to staying in a Parador, and Paradores is the plural. There's quite a few of those in Spain. And do you want to tell everyone what a Parador is, Dom?
Yeah. Back in 1928, the then Spanish government decided that obviously they had a lot of buildings,
in disrepair.
And that sort of thing. So they decided to purchase them and then spend the money and do them up.
As accommodation.
So
the one we're staying in. Yeah, what was that?
That's the Parador de Caceres, formerly the Terra Gas Palace.
Yeah.
And that was built in the 14th century.
So how cool is that? You can actually stay in a building built in the 14th century that was a palace, and it's got quite a few of the original features, the doors, some of the floors, some of the ceilings. They've really done a good job of maintaining the authenticity of the buildings, didn't they?
Yeah, it's got all the modern cons. Beautiful big beds. The bathroom was fabulous. The water temperature and pressure was great.
Do you know what I loved about it?
What?
It had that thing on the TV. I can't think of the name of it. What do they call those things?
Oh, Chromecast.
Yeah, and so we were able to actually watch some our normal TV shows in English, which was quite nice.
Yeah.
That was a nice little touch, and they're not that expensive. What a great idea.
No, actually, 100. We were there Friday, Saturday night.
Yeah.
And it was 135 Aussie dollars
a night.
Per night.
Yeah.
That's what it worked out. So
I meant not expensive, like to put a Chromecast in, but. Yeah.
Oh no, okay, yeah, but it was only 135 a night, and if you was in Brisbane, you'd be paying 300.
Yeah,
for sure.
But how cool! So the Paradors aren't always most of them aren't in major cities, So they were trying to boost the tourism in smaller places, and the thing about the Paradors is they have to have a certain level of like stars or like rating, and part of that is the restaurant as well has to be at a certain level, and the restaurant also has to include local produce.
Yeah.
So the first thing we did was go to the restaurant.
Yeah.
It was sort of lunchtime, and they said, "Why don't you head down to the restaurant?" So we did, and that was pretty special, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's because it's a requirement of the hotels to have as Leanne said, a particular level of service. It's all silver service in the restaurants. So, and when I originally started in my original career, I learnt silver service. And although I never ever used it in all the years I was in that particular trade.
Well, now I know that, I'm going to expect a bit higher level of, you know.
But I do sit back and admire people that can do it. And that lunchtime, it was all silver service. The food was fabulous. I think Leanne had...
no, I don't remember what I had. I just remember having a nice wine.
You had the duck.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I did too.
And
delicious.
I had a baked veal dish. And
so we splurged at lunchtime, which was very, very, very nice, wasn't it?
Unusual, but very, very nice. And the wine was fabulous. They had a wine...
fridge?
Yeah, it's not
area?
actually a fridge, but it's like they keep the temperature at the required level, and the wine was beautiful.
It was good. So, full with a bit of food and a bit of wine, we decided it was a bit early for a siesta, so we'd go and have a quick walk around before it got way too hot. And we just took a quick walk, and it's pretty easy to find your way around the old town. But we headed down to... basically down the windy streets to Plaza Mayor, which is at the bottom of the village or the old town, and it's a huge plaza, isn't it?
Yeah, they say it's one of the biggest in Spain,
but different to the others.
Yeah.
It's not walled like all the others. It's not enclosed.
No. But it's basically it first emerged because in the 12th century, because of an annual fair, and then in the 16th century. It was then surrounded by arcades with semicircle arches supported by stone pillars. So that's the way it is now.
Yeah, and there's like the big council building at one end of
Yeah.
it, and it's a great big open square. And then they've got all these blocks, big cement blocks that are the letters of the city, Caceres.
Caceres,
and
yeah.
they're all lined up. There's, the blue, yellow, red. We took photos of those, checked them out, posing as we do, sitting on those, trying to get, the whole lot in, which, is a nice little touch of, a little bit of fun, funky stuff down there in Plaza Mayor. So it got a bit hot, we're full, we've had a bit of a look around, we know where we're going to come back for dinner, so we head back to our beautiful palace, and fit for a queen, and have a nice little siesta, don't we?
Yeah.
And the siestas we do quite late because there's no point going out early because you can't get food. And this is a very authentic little Spanish city, so... it doesn't have the tapas bars catering to the tourists that are open all day.
No.
You can't get food until...
You can't get food. I think the earliest was 8 o'clock.
Yeah, that's it. So then we have our siesta and we head back down on the way to Plaza Mayor. One of my little favourite spot in Cáceres is Plaza San Juan. Yay, I got that one right. And we just find a nice little place. So we stopped and had a drink at one little bar first, and that was pretty nice. And that was the only place, actually, I remember this, the only place we've come across our whole time in Spain that would not accept a debit card or tarjeta for under €5.
Correct.
Right? Everywhere else you can buy like, a dollar loaf of bread, bam. Card. But this place, we've got a little bit of cash, so I just thought that's interesting. So we had a nice tapas dinner. There was a lovely sort of hotel at one end and then the restaurant at the other end, and it was overlooking, there's a little park in the middle of Plaza San Juan, and there's the Iglesia de San Juan, the back end of that with the beautiful bells and the flowers there, and it was a beautiful atmosphere. There's a beautiful photo of that restaurant I took.
Yeah, and that was the first real time there was absolutely no one that worked at that restaurant that spoke English.
No, we didn't hear any English spoken at all.
At all in Caceres. No English accents, no American accents, no English, no Australian.
Well, not even Spanish trying to speak English.
Yeah. It was just, we don't speak English.
Yeah, so that was really
cool.
So
Leanne got, she was number one in the class because she was able to converse with everybody pretty easily, and I just sat back and picked out probably one in every 20 words.
We did well. The other thing we saw that night before we headed home was the tuk-tuks. And we've been on some tuk-tuks before, as you know, and we really like that way of getting around a city. And really in an old town, it's the only way to get around, isn't it? Because, there's a lot of cars can't fit.
Correct.
Remember the taxi when we arrived at the Parador? We didn't even mention that, like how, oh boy, just narrow streets again. It's quite scary. Yeah, so we decided we're going to do the tuk-tuk the next day. So we headed home. But before we go on to day 2, you might just give us a little bit of history about Caceres, okay?
Yeah, basically.
Sorry, go on. Yeah, go.
Basically it was founded by the Romans in 34 BC. Arabs arrived in the 12th century. A century later, the Christians came in and took it over.
Same old story, isn't it?
Yeah, same old story. But
it makes for a nice architectural mix, doesn't it?
Well, that's the point. Caceres is a UNESCO heritage site. It's
the whole old town.
The whole old town. So the city's history of battles between the Moors, Christians, is reflected in the architecture, which is the blend of Roman, Islamic, Northern Gothic and Italian Renaissance styles, and that's why they were nominated or achieved
the World Heritage
listing.
Cool.
So,
and Caceres itself is in Extremadura, which is a very low visited by tourist area, and in the central west of Spain, and its western border is actually the border with Portugal. And as we were driving along, you could see a lot of signs saying Portugal, turn this way, Portugal this way, which is quite a nice spot. It's quite warm here and quite arid, isn't it, as well? But we did cross some nice landscape to get here.
Sure. But one of the funny things about the buildings, though, is in the 15th century, Isabella I brought an end to the continuous power struggles between the nobles by ordering the tops of the towers of their respective house fortresses to be cut off.
Yeah, so what all these wealthy families did, they built their own little casas or, palaces, and, that's what the old town's made up of, mostly are these old palaces, and some have been turned into restaurants, some have been turned into accommodation, and they all put towers on them, and they, it was like keeping up with the Joneses, so I'm going to put my tower a bit bigger, and my tower's bigger than your tower, and Isabella just said, nah, let's stop this crap. You're blocking the sun, you're blocking the view,
the typical council issues.
Yeah, right, and they weren't happy about it either.
Yeah, and they were quite wealthy, and the reason why it was quite wealthy in those days is that a lot of the noble people
of Extremadura.
Yeah, of Extremadura. They went on the voyages to basically discover the Americas, and of course then they brought all that wealth back.
Riches back, yeah.
And so that's how,
how that all started.
Yeah.
So that was our first day, and that's a bit of history about where we're staying, and so we're going to tell you all about our big full day, day 2. Okay, so we have little fun and games here in the International Podcast Studio. We just realised Lyle didn't have his microphone clipped on, but you can still hear him, so all good.
Yeah, my apologies.
But we're not really doing it. We don't do that. No, it's all full steam ahead. So day 2 in Caceres of our weekend, and I just want to say. We decided to go to Caceres because we wanted to get to Salamanca, and Salamanca was about 6 hours, and we don't do more than 3 or 4 hours travel. You don't just ruin your whole trip doing that. So we wanted to break it up somewhere, and did some research about the area, and Caceres just came up as, you know, like a really gorgeous, you know, authentic place to visit. So different. So I thought, beauty, that's why we're going to stay there. So day 2, we're up reasonably early, and because it's going to be a hot day, and we decided we're just going to go and explore. So we head back down to Plaza Mayor, and of course first stop is Café con Leche and tostada de tomate, which was so yummy and so cheap. And so we're ready for the day, and we decided there's a couple of big staircases coming off Plaza Mayor, and so we walk up through this big arch, which is called the Arco de Estrella, and it forms part of the city wall. So Caceres is completely surrounded by a wall, isn't it? So we went through there and came across the Catedral de Santa Maria, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah, and we had a bit of a well, not an altercation, a bit of a funny story there.
Yeah, well, it was very funny because there was a lady on point duty there, and she.
What do you mean by point duty?
Well, she was sitting there.
She's sitting at the stairs,
asking for money,
and of everybody that was going in the church. And
pretty much.
And she wasn't doing it, you know. Please, sir, can I have
more? She was quite aggressive.
Yeah,
and she. You know, she had some teeth, and she was a big lady. And anyway, Leanne was saying to her, no hablo español.
I said, lo siento, no entiendo, no hablo español, which means, I'm sorry, I don't understand, I don't speak Spanish.
And I'm thinking to myself, hang on, if you don't speak Spanish, why are you speaking Spanish? And the lady's, you know, basically by this stage yelling,
muy mala.
Yeah, muy mala, and which means very bad, very bad. And I'm thinking to myself, is she saying you're very bad because you're not giving me money?
Well, I'm thinking my Spanish isn't that bad.
Or is she saying your Spanish is bloody awful? I don't know, but
I don't care.
Anyway, so Leanne muttered a few words of what she was going to do to her, but you know, Leanne gets pretty tough when they're not anywhere near.
I ran around the corner in a hurry, which was, I'm so glad I did, because I got round the corner and came across this massive, big, white church cathedral, and it's stunning. With just like you on one level, and you look up. There's like it's up about the 3rd level, so it's dominating the skyline. It's massive,
it's probably on the highest point at Caceres.
Oh wow!
So when you come around the corner from the other church, from Santa Maria, you're looking up, and then there's these quite large staircases
up to it,
up to the
front.
It's
very imposing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like wow.
It's called the Iglesia de San Francisco Javier, and behind that is an old convent, so it takes up like a massive amount of space.
Well, and it was the convent was built in the 18th century, or the church was.
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's the site of the
it's some government building, isn't it?
Exhibition hall.
Yeah.
And the registered Ministry for Culture and Heritage of Extremadura.
And it wasn't open on the weekend, so
no, it wasn't open. So,
but that's okay. We found, I saw a little garden off to the side, so we snuck in there, a little secret garden, had a little wander around, little water features and pretty flowers and shady trees, and that was nice. And then we decided, okay, let's walk around the rest of the city wall that we can walk around. And we kept going down, around, because we'd already come up those stairs. And we sort of came to the area that used to be the old Jewish quarter. Now, there's not much of that left now. But that was really pretty because they had all those white little houses and the blue doors and the bougainvilleas. And, you know, it was just, I didn't really expect to see that there, you know, because everything else is so sandstony.
And like, as we've said previously, the Reconquista came in and basically said you either convert to Christianity
or you get out.
Or you get out, and that's exactly what happened in Caceres as well. Yeah,
it was. So that was a bit of a shame, but it was a beautiful walk down through there. And we didn't really have a plan. We had a map, but we weren't really following it. But you really can't get lost. And we just decided, okay, time to head back up over, somewhere towards where we're staying. There's a couple of museums that we'd been recommended to go to. But first of all, we came across, which is only just up from the Parador de Caceres, where we were staying, the Iglesia de San Mateo. And this church was getting ready for a wedding, because they were putting all these beautiful arch of fresh flowers around the church doors. And I've got a beautiful picture of that. It'll be on our website at beachtravelwine.com or Instagram. And we sort of stood there long enough, and the wedding sort of guests were coming, and glamorous. And then we came back a bit later to see as the service was going on, and they had this beautiful little car. Do you know what sort of car that was? No,
I couldn't. I was looking for it, but it was
So Lyle stood in front of a lovely old building and had posed him with the car, and then they must I don't know, part of the service inside, everyone's cheering. So, and the acoustics. So you got the flowers outside, you got the car, you got the old buildings, you got the cobblestone, you got some people from outside having a cigarette, but they'd still look nice, and then all the cheering going on. It was so cool, wasn't it, to see that? I loved that. So that was the Iglesia de San Mateo, and sort of on the other side of the Plaza de San Mateo is the the museum, right? And it was one of those houses that they, were putting big towers on, a palacio, one of the families, and it was called Palacio de las Veletas. Veletas. And so we went in there because it had, what was it that you wanted to, they told us we should go and look at?
Yeah, a couple of, when we first got to the Parador, the gentleman gave us the map, and he was quite firm on that we needed to go to this museum and see the cistern.
And we're not really museum people.
And anyway, because he told us it was the second biggest
expansive
in the world, apart from the one in Turkey. So
you're not going to ignore that, are you?
No. So we went up there. Look, I actually, and as Leanne said, we're not normally museum people, but it wasn't a big museum. It was quite small, really, and it basically
it had lots of different rooms, and they had artifacts, didn't they? It was a
fascinating collection of artifacts, mostly prehistoric, and the Roman era.
Mm-hmm.
I like a bit of history, so I quite enjoyed it, and then.
A little bit of art, a little bit of mod art.
Yeah, so you sort of go through section after section after section, and then you go down the stairs, obviously to the cistern. I went down and had a look at it. It was obviously Moorish, the arches and the colours. And basically what the cistern is the water storage area.
Not like a toilet cistern.
No, not like a toilet.
Is that why they're called cisterns? Because they store the water?
Correct.
Oh, okay.
That's correct. All water closets.
And I've got a nice photo of that cistern that as well, that you can have a look at. And I really liked it because it's so cool in there.
Yeah, it was really cool, and especially cool when I walked down into the actual cistern itself. But what it just didn't seem that big to me, but I suppose back in the day it was huge. Yeah. So, but then you basically come up the stairs and you go into the contemporary Spanish art area, and
you liked that, didn't you?
I did. I thought a lot of the stuff was fabulous. There was a couple of Picassos.
Yeah, they were just sketches.
Just call out to Steve in Calandra. I still reckon yours is better than Picasso's, but. There was others there that I thought were really brilliant, and how that eventuated was back in I think it was the 80s. The Extremadura council, I suppose, started some art prizes, awards, or annual awards, and that's where they got a lot of this stuff from. But I thought that was great. Then you go into the more traditional temporary exhibition of the art. A lot of religious art and that sort of thing. But all in all, it probably took us maybe, 40 minutes to do it.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. It was very interesting. So if one museum's not enough, we decide we're going to do two. Basically, 20 metres from the front of that museum is another museum, and it's the military museum. And we weren't planning to go in there, but, it says free entry and looked interesting. And it was actually in the Palacio. It's a palace. It's an old palace and an old tower. So the Palacio and Torre Sigüenza. And so it looked like a fascinating building to go and have a little sticky beak through. I have to say, it's not my cup of tea. Like, there was I just found they had swords, they had axes, they had pistols, they had rifles, they had, knives, so much weaponry. Bayonets, yeah. And
guns.
And they're not just like, in Toledo where they've got swords for sale. Swords galore. These have actually been in battle, and I didn't not like it, but it wasn't my thing. But I can see how people that were interested in history and war would be fascinated. With oh my gosh, they had some stuff in there, didn't they?
Yeah, I think you sort of go from the muskets, guns of early history, through to the Gatling guns and the machine guns and the guns that they're using today.
They used to have what was compulsory military service?
Correct. Yeah.
Up until I think 92 or something. No, it was later than that, like in the 2000s. I think it was quite not that long ago.
2004 seems to ring a bell with
and they had a lot of stuff in there about how they trained and where they trained and that sort of stuff as well.
A lot of photos of parades and that sort of thing.
But the building was good.
Yeah, look, you said to me, I don't see why they're glorifying war.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you did, and I get what you're saying.
That's how I felt it looked like, but I was probably wrong.
Look, I totally understand that.
Okay.
Whereas I'd probably look at it more from the Spanish point of view, or probably from any national.
Yeah. The history, and this is what we.
Yeah, this is you can't not say that it didn't happen, because it did happen. Because the Spanish, let's face it, they have been naughty boys over the years between the Inquisition and the Reconquista.
They conquered everybody.
And they conquered everybody.
I just found it quite upsetting to see all those weapons in one spot. That was all.
Whereas, and the other side of it too, you're looking, as Leanne said, you're looking at the weapons. You're saying, these may have killed people.
Yeah.
And so it's not like you're looking at it in a documentary. No. They're there in front of you. So I can see how it's confronting. From my personal point of view, I looked at it maybe a little bit more sympathetic, that they're not so much glorifying war, but basically
just the facts. This is
showing respect to the people that probably lost their lives.
Fair enough.
For the flag.
Okay.
So
after that, it was time to head down and take the tuk-tuk ride. We thought we'll go and see. I think we grabbed a quick bite to eat down in Plaza San Juan again. I think you wanted a hamburguesa.
That's right, I did.
And a cold beer, which the beer comes out so cold. Oh my gosh, it was like it has ice in it. It's to die for in the heat, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they freeze it. They have the glasses in freezers.
Perfect.
So they pull them out, and there's this coat of ice.
Yeah.
And and on a hot day in
it's nothing better. There is nothing better than that.
I just fancied a hamburger. So.
Yeah. So we did that, and we thought, right, tuk-tuk ride. So now the tuk-tuk ride was, we just like, he didn't speak English, and Lyle's like, well, this can be a waste of time, but they actually have like a
commentary.
Yeah, commentary in English, so you press the English button and off we went, and he just stops every time there's some information, and we really enjoyed it. We've got a lot of more information about, that you can't get just wandering around yourself, and it's nice and cool because the breezes, get in your face.
Yeah, they didn't show us anything we hadn't seen before, but the stuff that we'd seen before, we really didn't know what it was.
No, so we got lots of good information on that.
Well worth it.
Yeah, tuk-tuk it was great. So as you can see, that was a big day. So far, and so we headed back for our siesta because it's just way too hot to keep walking around. And we turned on the aircon and,
and combined with the fact that you're not going to get a single thing to eat before 8 o'clock, really, okay, you go home and watch television, or you go down and have a bit of a lay down, and
then you're refreshed,
have a sleep. And because you've had a couple of beers with the hamburger,
that's easy.
I think there's it makes it pretty easy.
Easy for some. Anyway, so siesta's done. Time to head out again. Now, I've been doing some online Spanish speaking with a guy called Ignacio, and he actually lives in Extremadura and very close to Caceres, and he recommended that we go to a restaurant called El Figon, and that is right in Plaza San Juan. And we tried to go there the night before, and we went at 8 o'clock, and she's like, no, 8:30, which means 8:30. And I'm like, I can't wait another half hour. So, so we went back the next night and made sure that we were there for 8:30. And we loved that restaurant, didn't we?
Yeah, the food was outstanding. Leanne had the pork dish, which is basically pork fillet.
Everything in Spain's pork.
Yeah. It was the...
Do you want some pork with that?
Carrilera.
Pork?
Iberica. El vino tinto.
So basically pork of the Iberian Peninsula in red wine.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
it was to die for.
It was to die for. And I had the sole fish, and it's the lenguado romanier, and it was basically done in butter, but like a butter mushroom sauce, and it was to die for. It was so good. We had a bottle of wine, a Verdejo. The wine was actually pretty cheap, really, €16.
Yeah. I picked the only one I knew on the menu.
Sure, but the service was fabulous. When they gave us that little drink.
Oh, they do at the beginning, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's what they do when you sit down for an actual full meal. You get some little specialty of the house. We've had them in a few places. But I'm like, what
it was
is
green.
This? Yes, it was green.
It was green, and neither Leanne or I could work out what it was, but what we both said, it was fantastic. Really, really good.
You got to have a crack at it.
Yeah, so, and again...
You said stir the chunky bits in and...
Yeah, that's right. There was I'm sure it was like garlic. There was garlic and...
I thought it was tomato on top.
And it could have been tomato, but there was definitely... Yeah. But it was beautiful.
Yeah. And you can't ask... Well, you can ask them what it is, and they tell you in Spanish, and I'm like, my Spanish doesn't reach that far. So.
Yeah, so that, like a bottle of wine...
Dinner. Like 5-star restaurant.
5-star restaurant. Service unbelievable. 102 Australian dollars.
Yeah, pretty good. So, dinner's done. It's late. It's time to walk home. Lowell does a little dance for me in the archway.
Yes, I did.
Adios, amigo. You need to go to our Instagram page and go to the story highlights and go to Caceres to see Lowell doing his famous flamenco/salsa dance in the archway on the way home. It's hilarious. It's really funny.
All I got to say is I much love mi esposa muy bien.
He reckons he's
muy más.
He's proven that he loves me by dancing like a goose. Anyway, all good. Walk home. Wow. Okay. We were just heading home, and we get back up into the Plaza de San Mateo, where the church was and the wedding, and there's about 4 groups of people up there on a tour. But on the way, we passed some little gorgeous restaurants, remember? Sort of by candlelight, and they're in behind these old castles and the palaces, and so romantic. It's impressive by day, but by night it is one of the most romantic places I've seen. It was beautiful.
Yeah, and the way they've designed to light up the buildings, again a little bit like in Seville, because it's sand. A lot of it's sandstone. It just glows in the dark, gold.
Like golden.
So
gold.
A lot of the these little cafes and restaurants that are on the cobblestone streets have very minimal lighting themselves. So, because they're relying on the
reflection from the lights and
the buildings.
Yeah.
And my goodness,
beautiful.
It's like,
go and have a look and see what you think, because it's really pretty. and as I said, there's like about 4 different groups of people, and they're doing nighttime tours. And I can see why you would do that, because we decided, okay, well, we're just gonna, if it's that good, all these people are doing tours, we'll go for do a little blocky, you know, go around the block before we head home. And so we headed down past that the big white church again, the Iglesia de San Francisco Javier, and we thought it was, you know, dominating and impressive in the day, but by night, wow, you know, so it's got some of that sandstone, and it's got the white, pristine white lit up against that midnight blue sky. Oh my gosh, we were just like, how long has this been going on? I'm so glad we went and had a wander around at the different, you know, a few of the different churches and plazas at night time. And if you are going to Caceres and you want a real authentic Spanish, you know, experience, you know, where the food and the customs are all so Spanish, go and do a tour at night, you know, and the tuk-tuks are running at night too, and I think that would be a really good way to see it at night time as well. Like, it was really impressive. So last thoughts on Caceres. We loved it. As Lyle said before, a step back in time.
Yeah, it's really like time travel. Like, I've never experienced anything like it. You feel like you're back in the Middle Ages. But again, very, very safe. You don't feel anxious at all.
No, pristine little streets and
spotlessly clean.
Yeah, and for me, you know, being able to stay in that the old palace is fabulous. And it's not. I mean, there's lots of other old accommodations being converted there too, as we're saying. Some of those old palaces and casas of the noble families. You know, there's a lot of those now are either restaurants or accommodation or a combination of both. So do yourself a favour, and it's not expensive to stay in these nice places. You know, so do yourself a favour and Smolly Meldrum, come on down. Do yourself a favour and check out Caceres on your next visit to Spain. See or not?
Yeah, if you want something really, really different, Caceres is the place.
The place. All right. So once again, you know, feel free to reach out to us. You know, you can send us a message on Instagram at Beach Travel Wine. You can send us an email at Leanne@beachtravelwine.com, or just go to our website and check out all the pictures that are on there that, you know, we've talked about in this episode at beachtravelwine.com.